Hello, beautiful people. I am Leslie Jones here with
Jay Cameron. That's right.
Yep. Folks, we have bad news. We have people impersonating us, using our images, creating emails to sell land in Ghana. And we want to let you know, for me personally, I am no longer affiliated with anyone selling land in Ghana, and I have no recommendations for you. Now, Jay, on the other hand,
well, I have no recommendations either, and I'm not selling any land. Now, what I will be doing is a different type of real estate venture, but it's not involving land. So if anything that you see with my name, purchase land quickly, hurry up, it's a fraud, it's a scam. They're leading you astray. They're going to run you amok. All those kind of things. They're going to get your money. They're going to bleed your bank account, all that.
Don't fall for the okie doke, folks. The emails that are fake are in the description box.
All right. Welcome to Pan-African Perspectives. This is a weekly live that we do where we talk about things happening on the continent, people living on the continent, people going back and forth, people leaving the continent. And today we have a very special guest, someone who I've had on before. Her and I have met in Ghana. We've met in Los Angeles. And it has been 2 years since her and I have talked off camera, and longer than that since her and I have talked on camera. And so we are going to tell her story, catch you guys up on where she is today, what's been going on. There's a lot to review, and without further ado, I just want to get into it. I'm going to bring Leslie to the stage. What's up, Leslie?
Hola. When I tell you things are cracking and popping, it's cracking and popping. How are you?
I'm good. So Leslie and I went live a little over 2 years ago, and we talked about Leslie's building a house in Ghana. That was the whole thing. And then she interviewed me later about me building a house in Sierra Leone. And it was all smiles, right? It's such an exciting time. All these new things were happening. Leslie and I had subsequent conversations that were off the record that we could not talk about publicly. And some things were underway and she was going through a process, I would say. And she has some updates here. But before we get into all of that, I thought it might be a good idea to kind of start with where we left off, right? So we last talked, and it was a long time ago. So for those of you who are not aware, when we last talked, you had purchased some land, you got really excited, you saved up some money, you purchased some land in Ghana, and some things went awry. Before we get into that though, maybe we should do a little bit of like your background, Leslie. Do you want to do a little bit of like who you are, what it is that you do, where you're from, so everyone who's watching can get a little bit of an understanding of your background prior to getting started with building in Ghana, and I know some things more recently. So I think we can kind of talk about it holistically, who you are then and today.
Yeah. Where do I start? Well, before Ghana, I lived in China. I was teaching English and modeling out there. Life-changing, one of the best experiences of my life. And that's what really triggered me doing international investing. So I've been incorporated. My company's called Vision to Reality, Inc. I've been incorporated since 2014. So I'm not like I just didn't start yesterday with having visions and, bringing nothing and manifesting, So I started my corporation as more of a service company. So whatever I did, I just put my company, instead of me as my, instead of my social, I put my EIN. So that's how everything started. And I knew my family, we're all on my mom's side, all in real estate. So my uncle's had his own firm for like over 20 years, probably going on 30 now. My auntie's also a broker. And so real estate has always been on my mind. I knew I would get into real estate. I just didn't know when, because I was more on the creative side. So, I have a patent pending product. I went to school just to learn how to design, to do that. So I filled out my own patent application. That's the whole story in itself. Okay. So I I auditioned for Shark Tank, right? That was a crazy experience as well. So I've always been entrepreneurial. But when I went to China, and I was treated so well in China, I said, I'm not even treated like this in my own country. And so that sparked the idea of, wow, international business. Maybe I should go somewhere else, or like I feel appreciated. And so, anyone that knows China, if you aren't Chinese, you're not getting in, right? It was like pulling teeth just to get a bank account, So I knew I wasn't going to do business there. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to the States, pull out a loan through my corporation and invest in some properties. But when I went to do that, my advisor was like, you're not in position to do that. I said, what? I thought I was in position to do it this whole time. He was like, no, we need, what was it? Returns. We need to see your returns of the corporation. I said, I don't have any returns. I write everything off, like everything.
Right.
And I thought having corporate returns is like just doing your taxes. I thought that was a generic word for returns. And so he's like, no, we actually need to see returns. I said, well, I don't have that. He's like, well, you can pull out a loan in your personal name. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. But I was like, let's just see. So I started the process. I'm like, okay, here's what's going to happen. It's going to be, I think they said, I forgot what percentage. They're going to take money off top of the loan to pay the unsecured investor or whoever's giving me the money. They're getting their money first and a referral for referral fee. And that's without having me starting anything. So I'm like, you're already taking money and I don't have anything started yet. And then the interest, I said no. So I just shut that down. And I said, you know what? If I'm going to do this, it's going to have to be using a currency that's weaker than the dollar. And so that's when I thought about going to somewhere, another country. I said, why not go to somewhere where I descend from? And at this time, I had no clue where I descended from. I'm the first one to even go back to Africa in over 400 years, right? So I did the African ancestry. I was a descendant from Sierra Leone, the Mende tribe. But at that time, I was encouraged by people from Sierra Leone not to go to Sierra Leone and invest, and because of the Civil War and everything. Yeah. So, but I'm pretty sure it's different now. But at that time, remember, this is 2020. This is 4 years ago. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I asked some of my other friends that I knew that were Nigerian. They said, look into Ghana. I looked into Ghana. And it was the best positioned country in West Africa to invest in when it comes to real estate. And then Nigeria for the entertainment business. So I chose real estate. And that's how I got to Ghana. Because of me being turned away, encouraged to not invest in Sierra Leone.
It's unfortunate we didn't know each other in 2020 because I would have told you something different. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yes, another day. So I went to school for my associates in drafting design technology. So I designed I had a three-phase development project I designed. And my bachelor's in project management. So I was going to, relocate to Ghana and manage and oversee the whole development project. But I was like, I'm not going to do anything beyond that until I get the paperwork right. And as we know, still don't have paperwork.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's a good background to get an idea of kind of who you are and what you were doing prior to getting to Ghana, right? So we got the story up to, that's the recommendation, right? It's most well-positioned for you to kind of go. And I will say, as someone who's lived in the diaspora, lived in Ghana, lived in Sierra Leone, it's the softest landing for those who are planning to move to West Africa or do business in West Africa. I do think, however, that because it's the softest landing, and because people are so adamant about telling you not to go other places, sometimes your walls are down when entering Ghana, right? You might be a little bit more trusting when entering Ghana. And I think it happens to all of us, including myself, someone who has a background from Sierra Leone, have been going to Sierra Leone. I also ran into some of those challenges. Now, let's fast forward to the process in which you went through to kind of buy land. So you bought, if I'm not mistaken, 2 properties or two pieces of land, right? 2 properties.
Yes.
So can we talk about briefly what that process was like, and then what happened subsequently?
So the first land was through land liaisons. They were called REPAT Initiative Assistance. It was an American couple, husband and wife. and I think they changed their name. You know, you got to change your name when you. So they changed their name to African Century Development.
Okay.
But during that time, I think we got up to like 80 people in our group chat on WhatsApp. And then, you know, some of us paid outright like I did, which never do. Some were making monthly payments. And I paid outright. So I'm like, well, I gotta stick this through. So 6 months into it, we're supposed to get our indentures. So there's people that paid outright way before I did that still didn't have their indentures. And so when it got to the 6 month mark, and they kept on pushing back, like, oh, this date, the company that they partnered with, Casa States,
yep.
That's who they were partnered with for the land. And so, you know, Casa was missing meetings with lawyers, and the paperwork still wasn't there. They kept on pushing paperwork back. And by the 6th month, I said, my spirit, I'm vexed. So that's when I started doing videos. My first video was January regarding this land was January 2022. Yeah. Okay. January 2022 or 2021. 2020. Either one of those years. And that's when I got kicked out the group, right? Because I was stirring it up because things weren't right, and I was tired of being told, "Oh, everything's good, you know, don't worry about it. We have everything in order." I'm like, if you had everything in order, we would have our stuff. So they kicked me out the group because I was causing too much havoc. They didn't want backlash from the company, and I'm just like, the reverence is just misguided here. Like we're the client. Why are we waiting for them to honor their contracts? So I just documented each and every step of the process. And eventually they're like, well, you need to be on your own. And I was on my own for that whole time. But it was good because once they kicked me out, I did what I should have done, was to do the survey, get a private surveyor and survey the land. Mind you, this company won't assign you land until you pay it off. Red flag. But see, I put my guards down, like you mentioned earlier, because I thought I had the land liaisons knew what they were doing. Zero clue. They had no clue what they were doing. But, you know, I take personal responsibility for that because I just trusted because I thought they knew what they were doing. You know, at that time, they were in the motherland in Ghana for 4 years. Oh, yeah, all the contracts. See, I didn't know what an indenture was at the time. I didn't know a land certificate. I didn't know what a deed. I didn't know any of that. So when they said paperwork, I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, if they got it, then it's cool. Come to find out, they paid off their land a little bit after I paid off my land. And I was like, or a little bit before. And I was like, what the hell? What's really going on? So them kicking me out was a blessing in disguise because I turned on my due diligence and I started doing what I need to do. And that's how I found out the land was sold fraudulently and they didn't even have authority to sell the land. And from that point on, I made videos about that. And then when I went back to Ghana, because they're saying my indentures were done, but they wouldn't let me see my indentures. This story is so much. I can't even say everything, but I just, I'll just put everything in a nutshell. Yeah. So like I said, I'm on my own now. So I said, well, I'm going to go and get my indentures. Oh, we're not going to send it to you. I said, why? Of course, they didn't respond to that. But I said, I will be there. At this point, it was like July 31st of 2022. Yeah. Flew there. Plots were missing. Land was missing off my paperwork. I said, I'm supposed to have 6 plots on this thing. I only have 4. Where are the other 2? They didn't know. I said, this is crazy. So we went to the land. I went with Casa States. They remeasured.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Quick question for you. So when you got those indentures, did you went around them and went to the Land Commission of Ghana? How did you get the paperwork?
I had to get lawyers. At this point, I got lawyers.
Okay.
So the lawyers got the paperwork for me. So when I showed up, the lawyers went with me to the actual estate company to get the paperwork.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how I got that. But mind you, these are trash indentures. Not knowing. So they resurveyed. And they said, "Oh, we're going to push your land up so the 4 plots will become 6 plots," because they drew a street. So on the plans, on the layout, they drew a street through the land where my 2 plots were. So not only are they selling land they didn't own, they have it demarcated after they sold the land. So that's how my 2 plots, that's how my 2 plots got moved. So they ended up scooting me up.
So they never had a survey done before they sold the land.
You would think.
Okay.
But see, it makes sense now. They're not.
Yeah,
that's why they won't allow you to see the land, because they didn't have anything in order. Because they literally don't have anything in order. So like,
Right.
oh, we can know you have to pay off your land first. No, you don't know where I am, and you can't even give me land.
Right.
You can't even give me land. Basically, if they did it the correct way, everything will already been demarcated, and they would have known where every plot is with everything. But they're selling land before they demarcate and properly position every plots and buildings and parks. So another red flag. Where was I? So they pushed up the land to complete the 6 plots. I went to the office to pick up the updated paperwork. Like, oh, we're working on it. And that's when I got assaulted. So I went to the office so they can correct their mistake. And I'm getting physically assaulted there. And I'm just like, what is this? What is it? And so I went through the proper channels, got a lawyer, sent them a letter, addressing the physical assault and an apology. And my lawyer was like, you can like ask for money too. I said, what? Well, shoot, put the highest amount I can get on that letter. Because that's what she said. Why not? Right? And so they never responded. And I said, if you think you're going to get away with this without saying anything, you got another thing coming. And so that's when I did the physical assault video. And from that video, that's when things went viral crazy within Ghana.
Yes.
Within 24 hours of that video, I had a diplomat reach out to me. I had Wodamaya repost my video. I met with the diaspora office of the president twice, right? So I went from a regular YouTube, not even YouTube, an Uber driver trying to purchase land to the Jubilee House.
Right, which is wild. Yeah.
It's wild.
And I remember those days because I had met you because I think you had commented on the video, right? Is that how we met? You comment?
I don't remember.
I think so. And you had mentioned that you had bought land or something. I was like, oh, this is great. And then I looked into you and I was like, oh, there's a lot going on. But I remember at that time, I was like, I don't want to be salacious. You had just done a live where you were talking about it and it was a little bit nuts, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to mention who you went live with during that time. And I remember there was a lot going on. I remember there was a lot going on.
I'll never do that show again. It was too low frequency.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I remember watching clips from that and thinking to myself, wow, okay, I want to just talk to you about your land buying process because you were still in the process, right? And so I wanted to at least get that out there. I was living in Ghana at the time and I wanted to tell your story. So, okay, the assault happened. Now you make your way to the Jubilee House. You're meeting with government officials. The video's gone viral. Everybody's talking about it. Other content creators in Ghana have opinions, right? Some people, you just said you took full accountability for not making what the assault thing is not your fault, but taking full accountability for not doing your due diligence for purchasing the land. But people still had a lot to say. People still have things to say. So there was a lot going on. Now, fast forward to once you started having those meetings with the folks in government, talking to other people, what did the process look like after that? Because I know when you and I met, I think it was like your second trip back. I think the last time I saw you in Ghana, and you were in progress, and you and I had spoken about things. So like maybe we could just kind of jump to like. Yes, we can. All of that, because I'm interested to hear about that.
Are you ready for the testimony? So,
yeah.
The first meeting was virtual. I have the Diaspora Affairs of the President. And they said, we're going to do everything in our power to assist you. Cool. I went to Ghana. They're like, oh, we want to meet you. So they invited me down. I said, oh my gosh, what a privilege. And they said, what do you recommend? We want to know what you think. And I said, first of all, this company, Casa States, is in a government-sponsored brochure, the GIPC, Ghana Investment Promotion Center. I was like, you guys are literally promoting this company that's selling land fraudulently. At that very moment, the director, head guy, got on the phone, called whoever he needed to call, and said, what's going on? They're in the brochure. So that happened. So I was very thankful for that, because they wasted no time, because they're like, they are they're coming against us, because the diaspora office of the president, they're trying to get people to come. They're trying to get people to invest.
Yeah.
You know? And so they're like, well, that's opposite of what we're trying to do. So they got on the phone immediately. And then I said, what about GREPA? GREPA is Ghana Real Estate Professional Association. I said, they have a bilateral agreement with NAR, National Association of Realtors, in the United States. There's already a bridge. Why are they not in the brochure? Okay. Right. So that was my recommendations. A couple of months later, guess what's in the brochure? And guess who's not in the brochure? Casa's no longer in the brochure. And GREPA's in the brochure.
That's what's up.
Thank you, small but mighty crew.
That's it. And I do want to mention, there were some questions here. Obviously, Ghanaians, of course, who want to represent for their country. We do that in Africa. We get very upset when people talk negatively about what's going on. She is just explaining her story, and she just explained to you why she thought it was a good idea. I mean, if this was in the brochure, this is in the brochure, government sanctioned brochure.
This company's name was in the government-sponsored brochure.
So there you go. For the carelessness, you say, so why blaming Ghana for your own carelessness? Well, that answers your question right there. Apologetics review. I hope that answers that question. Okay, so that's that piece of land. They make those adjustments to the brochure.
Okay, it's not over.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So at the end of that meeting, they said, what you need to do is put a petition together.
Okay.
Put a petition together, get anyone you can in your community to sign this petition, and we'll take it to the next level.
Okay.
Did that, went live, got a whole bunch of people to sign my petition. We had no clue. This is all hope, right? I had people in the comments, this is not going to work. This is blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm going to go as far as I can. I'm going to do everything in my power. Are you ready for this? I've never mentioned this on anything, right?
You got the
petition was accepted by Iyoko. You know what Iyoko is?
I don't.
People in the comments, the Ghanaians. I know. You know who Iyoko is? Are they putting it?
It takes a while for it to show up, so it might be like 2 minutes before they tell us.
Oh, okay. Well, Iyoko is Economic and Organized Crime Office. This is Ghana's form of the FBI. Did you hear what I said?
Mm-hmm.
This is the equivalent of the United States FBI.
So the Ghanaian Federal Police, basically.
Well, specifically in organized crime, because we're dealing with organized crime. So they said, we took your case because this is a big deal. They saw all the evidence and they said, we want to thank you. We want to thank you because you saved us from a huge problem. I said, you're welcome. Right? I'm like, and they said, we will be with you every step of the way from now on. Ooh, I'm getting chills because I'm so grateful, because this wouldn't have happened without the small but mighty crew, without me live streaming, without me having a strong enough, not big enough, because size didn't matter. I had less than 4,000 subscribers at the time. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, the small but mighty crew, for signing that petition, for sharing my videos, for just supporting me through all this whole journey. It has been almost cussed. It has been a nightmare. This is the worst financial decision I've ever made in my life. Okay. But my life has changed for the better through it all. So there's always a silver lining, right?
Yep.
So the petition went through. EOCO contacted me. Now I have a contact at EOCO. They're being investigated. I don't know now, because now that I don't have to deal with costs anymore, I'm not following up on that side. I'm just focusing on my paperwork getting completed. So now my registration has started. So I got the correct paperwork with the right owners October of 2023. I bought this land.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I bought the land outright March of 2021. I'm over 3 years now. I got the paperwork of the correct owners in 2023 October. So just before my 3-year mark, I got the correct indentures. And indentures is something that you should have within 3 weeks. 3 years. My God.
And for those of you following who are Sierra Leonean, just to make sure you guys understand this, because in Sierra Leone, we have a version of indentures and it's called a conveyance. So in Sierra Leone, it's called a conveyance. In Ghana, it's called an indentured. But basically, it shows that you with the country that you own this land, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? And just one point of clarification. So there was a company you were going through that didn't actually own the land, right? They didn't have rights to the land. You got lawyers. You went around them to the actual owners of the land, and were able to secure the land through them. Is that correct? Is that what you're expressing?
EOCO
did. Okay, so the federal police in Ghana got the paperwork so that you can have the direct relationship. Okay.
Right. Because I had a representative that's been helping me. He would go to CAS and they were like, come back in 3 months, come back in 2 months. He would go sit at the office for 9 hours. It was ridiculous. He almost did this for a year saying, oh, your paperwork's going to be ready. Oh, your paperwork's going to be ready. And it never was. And all of a sudden he got a call on a Friday and said, come pick up your paperwork, because that following Monday, EOCO called everybody to their office. What a coincidence, right? So now I get the paperwork Friday. That Monday, everyone's at EOCO. CAS, my representative, they contacted my lawyer. They're like, we want to know what's going on. And I don't want to go into detail of the meeting because I don't think that's my place to share, but that's what happened. Yeah. Plus I wasn't there, so I can't really share what went down. But that's what happened. So that's how I got my paperwork. EOCO called and said, come to our office Monday. CAS, boom, paperwork Friday.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So so that's how I got my paperwork. So EOCO is the one that said, come to our office. All of a sudden, CAS put the paperwork together and handed it to my representative that Friday before their meeting. Okay. And then it got mailed to me. Well, actually, I had a friend bring it to me in the States. I signed it, overviewed it, sent it back. And that's how I started my that's how it started. And my registration started March of this year. Yeah. Crazy.
There it is.
Oh,
there it is.
And so, there it is.
Okay. Yeah. So now there was another piece of land. Because you have another piece of land. Do we want to go through that story briefly? The other piece of land that you acquired.
Sure.
Through this process early on. How early on did you get the second piece of land?
So I got this land March, April, May, June, July, like 6 months after. So once I found out things weren't right with the first land, I was already looking for another piece of land. But this time I did my due diligence to the extent that I knew to do it. So I did get the private surveyor. I did just, make sure that the person that was selling me the land, his name was on the Lands Commission's records. So I knew that was taken care of. That's what I didn't do because I trusted that middleman, that land liaison company. So I said, well, Leslie, don't be stupid. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I'm a dumbass. Okay. And a dumbass I am not. So I did my due diligence and bought the land beachfront. Oh, this is a beachfront property in Central Region. I thought everything was good, right? And then I started my registration. Mind you, there's a whole bunch of drama went on before that, incorrect indentures, just a lot of negligence, so much negligence, like unreal negligence. But I got through that because I have patience. Okay, negligence, stuff being taking long to get done, I'm cool with that. I can deal.
Sure.
But criminality and lying, what do I do with that?
Right.
What do I do? Okay. So thank goodness the hand of God's on my life and things like worked out outside of my power, because it got to the point where I'm like, there is nothing else I can do. And then God just starts sending people my way to like help me and bring things to get things going along to proceed.
Okay.
And so I sent my indentures, everything to the Lands Commission, and they're like, there's a fraction of this land he has no authority to sell you, so you can't register. I said, huh? I did my due diligence, right?
Right.
His name matches. All is well. How can there be any issues? Now I found out that, okay, if you don't do it's still land. So there's responsibilities the chief needs to do. There's responsibilities the developer needs to do. If they don't do it all, things like this will pop up. Mind you, there's people already building on this land because, of course, they didn't do their due diligence. I'm finding everything out because I'm doing my due diligence. I want registration. People didn't even know, we can get land certificate? What do you mean you don't know? Anyways, so that started, and I said, what am I going to do about this? And that took another year. Mind you, the developer didn't even know it. He needed to register the land. He didn't even know. I told him. And then, anyways, I told him that it took a whole year to register. Mind you, my land is 80 by 200. The first, 10 feet from the water it was like 80 by 10. So 800 square feet was keeping me from registration. Come to find out, the whole coast he had to register. And the further you went down to the coast, the more land he needed to register.
Okay.
Right? So I'm like, this is crazy. And I was like, okay, we'll just register it, waited another year, and it would have been fine. And I would have been quiet. Okay. But he didn't want to pay me my money for my referrals. So I have people that I've referred that's already started building on that land. And you're not gonna give my money? So I had to I had to shout out loud. And I just blasted everything that I went through with that land. I didn't want to, but one thing you're not gonna do is play with my money. That's if you guys, people that are listening to me right now and hear my testimonies, you're not gonna play with my money. It's just something that's just unacceptable.
Well, look, this has been an education, I think, for many people in understanding what you need to do through this process. A couple of questions have come up since you've started talking, and I would be remiss not to answer them. So one of them was, are you a Ghanaian citizen? Because there is a lot of conversation out there, specifically Ghanaians have told me this, that you need to be a Ghanaian citizen. I will tell you guys this, I have friends who are not Ghanaian citizens who have land, but are you a Ghanaian citizen? And talk to us about how you can buy land even as not a Ghanaian citizen, because I think that'll be important for those, even in Ghana, to understand and to know.
I'm so glad they asked this, because I'm going to answer your question through my story. So when I was staying in the coconut hut, I had to extend my visa.
Can you talk about that coconut hut? Because it keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. Because you did a video, you did a viral video, right? Living in a coconut hut, right? Or something like that. So people are saying like, you didn't have money, you were broke. So can you explain that really quickly before we get into the next part? Because there's a few comments here. You mentioned it, so I feel like we should address it.
Yeah. Okay. So when I was live streaming, and I didn't go, folks, I'm an Uber driver. That's how I save up my money. I do not have money. I'm not balling. I'm a regular lower middle class person, whatever category that is. And so I was like, I want to go back and at least build my wall. But I left early because, shoot, I couldn't stay any longer. And the games they were playing, I'm like, I don't have money just to be sitting here so you guys can figure out if you guys want to be truthful. Right? So I went back to the States, started saving up my money. I did a live stream And we're talking about construction in Ghana on my live stream. And I had a lot of construction people on my live. Yeah. And the neighbors at the beachfront property, I said, oh, so where do you guys stay when you're building your houses? Where did your workers stay? And they said, oh, coconut huts. I said, what? They're like, yeah, we just made huts out of the coconut hut leaves. I said, so you're telling me, because I spent so much money on the Airbnb when I lived in Ghana for like 3 months. I said, I can live on the land right now in a coconut hut? They said, yes. I said, oh my God, make me a coconut hut. I'm there in a month, right? Because now I don't have to save up money for an Airbnb. So that's how the coconut hut experience started. So the community, the indigenous community, I where the land is, they literally built a coconut hut, and it's all recorded on my YouTube page. And I lived there while we built the walls for both properties. Yeah, so that's how the coconut hut started.
That's the coconut hut story. Okay, I appreciate you going through that because it keeps coming up. All right, so now back to the Ghanaian citizenship question. Yes. I know you started talking about the coconut hut as you were getting into the Ghanaian citizenship, so I do want to bring it back to that. We had to address it because it keeps coming up. So if you can.
Yeah, so while I was living in the coconut hut, I had to extend my visa. So I went to the Central Region's location. I forgot the name. Maybe a Ghanaian, you can put in the comments where you go to extend your visa in the Central Region. I went there and they're like, so why are you here? I was like, oh, I just need to extend I have a business visa. So every time I go to Ghana, it's always been on a business visa. Right. I was like, I just need to extend my visa. He's like, hey, what's your business? I was like, oh, I bought land. I'm going to have a development project. They're like, are you a resident? Are you a citizen? I said, no. They're like, how were you able to get land without even being a resident? You shouldn't even have this. I said, what? They're like, yeah. Only residents and citizens should have land in Ghana. I said, well, they're selling land like crazy to non-citizens and people that don't even have a residence.
Right.
So folks, they're not even supposed to be selling us land without residency, but they're doing it. And of course, by this time, I didn't know. I already bought 2 properties by this time. So who do we?
So that's a good point. Yeah, so that's a good point. Does that mean, have they said anything to you about the ability to retake that land from you if you're not a resident or a citizen? Or is it just, it's already too late that, you can't put the cat back in the bag, so, it is what it is? What have they said to you in terms of that?
That's a good question. That's a good question that I do not have the answer to. That's a good question.
Yeah.
So what happens? I mean, if we want to say technically, they can come and take all this stuff back, right?
Right.
Technically.
Right. Because technically most of Ghana, not all of it, but most of Ghana land is, it's not freehold, right? So I can't remember what the other word is. It's not freehold. Leasehold. You guys will know. Yeah. Leasehold. Yeah. Leasehold land, right? So that means that Ghana owns that land, right? So much like in the United States, when eminent domain, when the United States decides we're going to take that, it's the same thing in Ghana. Ghana can do the same thing. And so, which is interesting. So I hope that doesn't happen to folks. I do know in many countries.
There's a story about that.
Okay. So
we can talk about that later.
Okay, we talk about that later. So I would just mention just for everyone, in many countries on the continent of Africa, businesses can own land, though, or at least without it's not the residency thing because it's a business. So that is how people get around the issue of not being a citizen, owning land in many countries. And so that happens a lot on the continent. So you'll notice Sierra Leone in particular, many people I've seen actually do end up owning land based on having a business. So you don't have to be, so Apologetics Review says you don't have to be a citizen to own land. If you're a citizen, your lease is 99 years, but if you're not, it's 49 years.
And I heard they're going to change that to 35 years for non-citizens. Has any Ghanaians heard that? I heard that a couple of years ago. I don't know if they made it definite.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing, right? I think a lot of people who talk to folks in Ghana think that people are purposely misrepresenting things. And the thing is, the information fluctuates and changes, and everybody will tell you something different. I don't know how many different people I've talked to that have completely different information and insight as to what and how you buy and obtain land in Ghana. It is a very complicated process with many moving pieces. There's a lot going on as it pertains to that. With that being said, though, so we talked about the first piece of land. We talked about the second piece of land. Talk about everything that you went through. Where are you today with both of these pieces of land? Are you in full ownership of them now, or what's the situation? What is the status of the two properties?
So it'll never be ownership, right? Because of leasehold.
Right.
So the first land, I started the registration process. So nothing's in my name. The only thing that's in my name is the cadastre, which I don't want to go too much into that. But the cadastre is basically saying she's coming to start the registration process. So they kind of say they have an idea that this person that I am working on getting the registration. So my name will be in the Lands Commission database. So right now it's just in transition. I was told by my representative that they'll be going to the land, the first land I purchased, they'll be going to the land next week to start the. Now the Lands Commission has to do their surveying and everything and look at the land and see what's there and confirm that what's on my indentures is the information they have. So nothing's in my name right now. Nothing. I barely got the paperwork for it to be put into my name, right? The second one, the representative at the Lands Commission, MIA. I haven't heard from him in months. This is the beachfront property. With him, he, for some reason, all the paperwork was gone. He had to request, I had to get the paperwork back. I mean, again, the original agreement between the chief and the developer I had to get again. And the lease from the developer re-registering the land. I had to get that back again. I had to get a lawyer to get all that information because, the developer is just scum, right? So I had to get a lawyer just for him to give me the paperwork saying that he finished his registration. That already took a year on top of the time he took from just being, negligent. And so that paperwork just got in on February or March of this year. But the representative MIA, and so I'm dealing with this other land with the yokel, so I haven't even put attention to that. But once this land, the first land I purchased gets out the way, I will be turning full focus to the beachfront property. And all I'm going to say is I'm going full throttle, and we'll see what happens with that. So neither properties are in my name. I barely got the paperwork to both properties, the indentures, to start the registration process. And this is all because I had a platform. If I did not have a platform, I would have been screwed out my money, period. So that leaves a question. Do we have to have platforms to expose injustice just to honor contracts?
Feels like that across the world, to be honest. So a couple different things.
Yeah.
I want, because there are some questions I think that are coming up, and I think we might want to try to bring this all full circle, tie a bow on this. So 2 questions have keep coming up. The one question, which I think you said you don't know the answer to, is do you need to be a citizen to own land? And technically the answer is no, right? Because there are people who own land who aren't citizens. But I think what has to happen, and by the way, where are you getting your information from when you're talking to people about these different things, right? So when you were told you needed to be a citizen, where did that information come from?
The office in the Central Region, the officers that extend visas.
Yep.
I don't know what office that was. Is it
not the Land Commission?
No, it was a different office.
Different office. Okay, so it's an office that extends your visas. I know what you're talking about though. Okay, so just to be clear, right? What Leslie is telling us is based on what information she was given by people who work in government, by government officials, right? So just to be very clear, number 1. Number 2, the other question is, and I think you kind of answered this, but do you own do you have the, okay, because this is why somebody I know, basically is saying it's difficult to follow. So does she not have the land? Do you have the land? Don't you have the land? How would you describe your ownership currently of these 2 properties?
Okay. I'm not owners of the land. This is leasehold land. I will never be the owner. So where I am in the process is starting registration, so my name will be in the Lands Commission's database. Okay. So let's say if I want to sell it one day, I have the rights to do that. I have a right to sell my leasehold contract to someone else, if that makes sense. So I'm starting that process to give me the ability to do that. All the Land Commission knows is the cadastre and my indentures. She's coming. That's where I'm at. She's coming to register, so her name will be with us in the Lands Commission database. Does that make it clear?
It does. It does. And if I could repeat it back, basically, it's to be clear, right? Ghana owns the land, technically, right? So Ghana owns the land. It's leasehold land.
So Ghana the government of Ghana only owns like 13% of the land. The people, the majority of landowners are families, stools. There's another word. There's 5 categories of ownership. Okay. Government, family, stools, 2 others. I forgot.
Stool is chiefs, right? They sit on stools, so that's why they.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's 2 more, and I forgot. But I do have a video on it.
Okay.
But so there's 5 categories of people that actually own land. Foreigners will never own land. We only have leasehold.
Okay, got it. So basically you don't own the land, but you're working to get your name on the land so that you can sell it later. It's a long-term lease that you will be able to have, but not ownership rights. Okay, so that's important to know. So yeah, that's an important story and an important thing to note. Okay, so we've now gone through all of these different challenges. We now know where you are today. Now, from what I understand, I've noticed that you started to try to help people navigate this process a little bit better than you did in the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I remember correctly, there were a couple of different things that you were working on. You have ebooks, right? So you also have consulting services too. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So could we talk through some of that?
Yeah. So
I'll put the ebook on the screen.
Yeah, I learned because of my connections and what I've learned in the process. I've learned the due diligence process. There's 5 steps you do. Of course, the first 2 that we all know: get a survey of the land, right? Get a private surveyor and do a Lands Commission search. That's 2 out of the 5. Now the other 3, which is in the book, I had no clue until I started talking to lawyers, and they said, this is what you do. And if I would have followed, first of all, regarding the first land, I would never got it because I wouldn't have got past step number 1, right? So that would have saved me on that. The second land, I wouldn't have been able to complete step number 5 because the chief and the developer didn't do what they were supposed to do. So I said, oh my gosh, I have to put this in the book because if people, most likely you won't get to step number 3. If you follow the due diligence process, according to the way business is being handled, you won't even get to step number 3, and you will save tens and thousands of dollars and years off your life.
Okay.
And I'm like, how is this not in a book already?
Right.
So I said, well, my whole thing was to talk about the consultancy. I don't want to consult, to be honest. Sure. I put that option there because I'm not going to keep that away from people. And I said, Leslie, if you don't consult, you're not going to because people kept on, people till this day reach out to me because I forgot my videos are continuous. They don't stop because I stopped, right? So people are seeing my beachfront property video for the first time. They're like, oh, we want to do what you're doing. Help us. And I'm in my mind, I've already pivoted and I left September. I did my pivot video, and this is another goodbye video, right? But I'm like, there's people out there, Leslie, just like you. They're going to go through this. And you know too much to not say anything. So I said, let me make an ebook, the due diligence process, a guide to buy land in Ghana. All I do now is send people my ebook. And if it's that, I mean, that's enough.
Right.
That book alone will save you tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and years just by get $35. You don't have to fly to Ghana 5 times like I did. You don't have to buy Airbnbs. You don't have to go through 8 lawyers. You don't have to go through EOCO. You don't have to go through the diaspora office of the president. You don't have to do any of that. Follow those steps, and let's see how far you even get regarding, buying land in Ghana.
Okay. So there's a lot there. Okay, so we talked about like your story leading up to these 2 pieces of land, which is wild story. Physical assault, everything going on. You moved on to a process of kind of trying to help people as much as possible, right? So you give people insight in what you know based on your experience. And then also, if somebody decides they want to buy land, do you still have that process of introducing them to other folks and having them go through that process on their own?
So I'm no longer affiliated with any landowners. I refuse.
Okay.
But what I do, I assist with the due diligence process. So if you need a private surveyor, if you need a lawyer, like I just had a client, it is referral based. They're like, we need a lawyer. Who's your lawyer? And I referred them, of course, for a fee, but I refer them. So now my sphere of influence, the people I know, they have access to it. Anyone that needs a lawyer, anyone that needs a private surveyor, you don't have to start from scratch. And that's where I help regarding the due diligence process. Anything after the due diligence process, it's not me. You'll have to find someone else. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and yeah, a good point. And I think too, there are people who have gone through similar processes, got land, and are selling people that land, and they try to do that for you. There are other people who want to do it on their own, right? And so if you want to do it on your own and not go through living in a compound or a group with other people, I know there are other folks like Alita, like other folks who do, Eric McNeil, who has his own pieces of land, which came up in some of the comments here. In those instances, you can go through that process. If you want to go through a process on your own, you are going to need to do your due diligence process. And so I think it's important, though, that we had this conversation, because I think people think it's really an easy process to buy land in Ghana, because Ghana tends to have most of their stuff that they do government-wise on websites. It's generally easy to follow, right? For other countries, and I don't want to call any countries out in particular, but when you're looking into these things, there are no websites to begin with, right? You don't even have a basis to where to start. But for me, what it seems like is Ghana has many different systems and processes in place, and there are a lot of places where things can fall through the cracks. And so what you're doing is just trying to help people understand what that looks like.
Yeah, hopefully my ebook becomes irrelevant. That's the goal, because that means they got, I'm about to cuss. That means they got their stuff in order.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But until then, why struggle and waste? I'm at 4 years. I won't call it a waste, but financially, this is wasteful, right? What was I gonna say? But yeah,
but it's been a life lesson, right?
Yeah, it's experience tuition. That's what I learned.
There it is, experience tuition.
It's experience tuition, and why? What's it called? Pay it forward. Why go? Why should anyone else go through what I went through? Because I know, that's, like you said, people want to do it on your own, and I get it. A lot of that's how I was at the beginning. I'm like, no, because people are telling me, don't do it, Leslie, don't. But I was so gun-ho and I was so naive, and I just believed. I was like, it can't be that bad that you're gonna get scammed. I'm like, people are not that bad. People are not that evil, bruh. I said, oh, I see now. Okay, and like I said, this is not a bash on Ghana. This is just my story. What do you want me to do? Change the name to Nana? I don't know. It's Ghana. That's just what my story is. And what I want to allude to, what you said, was some people want to do it on their own. Technically, I did do it on my own, right? I did find the land on my own. I did do research, and technically I did. But what it cost me, it's not worth it. It's not worth. Why? Just because I can say, oh yeah, Leslie, you did all this without a real estate agent. So,
Right.
And I think what I really like, if you guys don't remember anything I say, there is this not trance, but this stupor, right? There's this mentality that we have, and it's either through the trauma that we've been through, the desire of wanting to accomplish, the desire of wanting to be great, the desire of getting out of America and going to Africa, Pan-Africanism, legacy. Sometimes that blocks our reasoning and it clouds our reasoning into where we negate red flags. And so that's another reason why. Go ahead.
I have a call I have to answer. Keep talking though. I absolutely have to answer this. So
okay, gotcha.
I will be off, but you keep talking, and then also I'm gonna call them back. So one thing I say, if you can address this point, finish this point, and then also if you can address the point of if you had to do it all over again, would you do it? Would you ever buy land in Ghana? So yeah, okay. So I'll be right back.
Okay. So like I was saying, there's this illusion that we have about accomplishing what we want for our families, setting a legacy. If you practice the ideology of Pan-Africanism, fighting for the people, for the culture, right? And sometimes that can cloud our vision to where we negate red flags. And when I do consult, people do reach out to me and talk to me. There's a similar lining of, I'm going back and I'm going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do it. And then I'm just like, calm down. Because that's where I was. Calm down. Don't rush. Everyone that I've talked to are in a rushing state. And I'm like, do not rush, because you're going to rush. You're going to overlook red flags. You're going to be overly excited, and you're going to end up like me, right? You're going to end up, avoiding, doing due diligence because you're so excited that you overtrust someone. Or you're going to end up, buying land and not knowing the full due diligence process, and then having to reverse everything. And you might lose your money, right? It might work out for you, but take 5, 6, 7 years, right? You might end up in, court because of litigation issues. So it's like and that's why I wrote the second ebook. Are you EQ ready? Because even though I wrote the due diligence book, I said, Leslie, well, what made you not do your due diligence with the first land? I said, because I wasn't mentally and emotionally prepared. I wasn't prepared. So I said, let me write this book for the people that might be in a rush, that might be in that stupor state. I got to find a better word than stupor, or trance state, overly excited, emotionally imbalanced state. So we can calm the hell down. I get it. Some of us really want to go to Africa. Some of us really want to repatriate, start a different legacy for our family. Calm down and let's think and just be in reason. And so that's why I made that second book, so we can be emotionally and mentally ready to handle what you're about to go into. Yeah. I wish I had 100%. Both these books. I wish.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. As someone who's moved to the continent on a whim because of my excitement and exuberance, I'm guilty. I did it in 2020. No, I mean, look, we're all guilty, right? I mean, there's so many channels based on this, right?
Right.
Many of us have made that move. And I would say this, it happens in love lives. It happens in business. It happens in land purchases. I have so many conversations. I mean, having this platform, I've had so many conversations with people on and off camera about mistakes they've made because they felt a connection to their homeland, and they didn't use the same kind of due diligence that you would anywhere else, right? Like if I was moving to China, I do all the due diligence I have to do. If I was moving to Louisiana, I do all the due diligence I have to do. But for some reason, when I moved to Ghana, my walls are down. It's like homeland, and that level of trust is there. And the thing is that there are many people commenting, it's not the whole country, it's not everybody. And that's very clear. It's not the whole continent, it's not the whole country, it's not everybody. what I think people need to understand, though, is that it is there. Because there's two things that happen on the internet right now. There are people who spend their entire lives bashing Africa, and there are people who spend their entire lives talking about it through rose-colored glasses. And, you know, there's nuance to everything. And so what we try to do with these lives is express our stories, but tell you what to do differently. Learn from us so you don't make the same mistakes, right? So to bring it back full circle, obviously, Leslie, you have these 2 ebooks. You have the ebook on your EQ, and then you have the ebook on doing your due diligence to kind of help people make some better, more informed decisions with the information that they need to have. So making, you know, objective, you know, decisions instead of subjective. Okay, so now we've talked about all those things. Mm-hmm. There's still more to talk about, because that video that I played in the very beginning, for those of you who didn't, for those of you who didn't see the very, very beginning of the live, you can go back and watch it. Leslie was, it was a video with Leslie and Jay Cameron explaining a situation that has happened. And so maybe we should give some background on who Jay Cameron is. I owe Jay Cameron some deliverables, by the way. So sorry, Jay, if you're watching this, I know I owe you. It's coming. Trust me. I'm going to say it publicly. I promise you. I'm sorry. I owe Jay some deliverables. But Jay owns a company called Maximum Impact. In fact, I was put in touch with Maximum Impact because of Leslie. Leslie had done a video about it. And we'll answer this question, Jay-Z on JC, about Leslie in Ghana. I'll end with that, but I want to go back to this particular question. What happened? You know, you and Jay met. You were planning a trip, and then other weird things happened on the internet and in Ghana. So can we talk about that, and you can give some context to that?
I love my small but mighty crew. I really love us. Okay, that's the name I've given the group, because they just been ride or die for me. And one of my small but mighty crew members texted me on Instagram. He said, I'm ready to buy the land, Leslie. And I said, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, aren't you selling land? I said, no. He said, someone is impersonating you. Someone is impersonating you, selling land in your name. They said, here's the Momo shots, right? They showed Momo shots as if
mobile money, by the way. Mobile money. Yeah.
So
it's
what
like
they're
Cash
doing,
App or Zelle for those of you who haven't been to Africa. Sorry, I just had to give that context. So yeah, okay.
So they took my IG photo, created a whole email, got a address from Los Angeles, which is an abandoned building, as my address, and saying, oh, I started my lands commission process. So mind you, they're watching my videos. These people are studying me. They're like, okay, because I did start my land registration process. Once I got my indentures from EOCO, helped me get my indentures. Sure. So I did start it. So they use that to get into my small but mighty crew members' mind and say, it started. I trust these people. We're working with the land commissioner directly, right? My member paid $200. I guess it was like a $200 fee to get the process started. So they used me as an intro, which makes sense because, you know, I'm a referrer. And then they used Jay Cameron to get more money. But by the time they're saying, okay, it's going to talk, I think it was like 20 grand at this. I forgot the amount, but it was a lot. So that's when Jay Cameron came. They used Jay Cameron's email, create a fake email saying, okay, give this money and we can start the process. I'm dealing with land too. And so they partnered me and Jay Cameron up as if we were a team. I said, my God. And so before he sent the remainder or the most of the money, that's when he contacted me, because he was like, no, this something doesn't feel real, because I'm in contact with most of my people. Right. So he contacted me saying, I just want to confirm that this is you. And I said, this is not me. And this happened January. And so he sent me all the emails. He sent me receipts. They're giving receipts in the name of the Lands Commission. Right. Wow. And so now which I have to make a video about this soon, bank account numbers, I know the name, I know all of it now. And I said, this is like a legit operation. right? And what's crazy is, of course, the English was horrible within the emails, but they start yelling through email to the client, and my client was like, "Oh, Jay Cameron, let's have a what's it called? Like a live, like a Zoom." Because my clients, my small but mighty crew member is trying to see, oh, Jay Cameron, if it's you, let's just do a Zoom.
Right.
Zoom is not necessary. If you're serious, you give your money now. I'm working the landscape. I mean, rude. Like, how are you trying to take someone's money, but then yelling at them and just what? So that was a whole, like, I submitted all the evidence to the Foreign Affairs Office. They haven't responded. But the consultancy, so the American Embassy, no, not the American Embassy, the consulate, yes. Consulate, so the Ghana consulate, I submitted it to them. They said they're working on it. I'm sure they're doing their best. But that was in January. So I don't know what's going on with that. But like I said, I'm doing everything in my power. I'm even trying to get his $200 back, you know. And from that, I said, you're not about to ruin my reputation. So I called like almost 400 people in my database to make sure, like, I contacted everyone. And if they had a number, I called them. I talked to most of them. If they had an email, I emailed most of them. I said, just beware. But that's how that went. I said, because there's only so much you can do regarding that, you know.
Right. So, and just to be clear, Jay Cameron he has a company called Maximum Impact, and the goal of his company is to bring, I guess, people from all walks of life, but specifically people from the African diaspora to Black places, Black Africa and Black Europe, Black Central America, right, to areas in different parts of the world that have kept their cultural pieces, right? So like whether it's Puerto Rico or it's Germany, right, he has these little pockets of people that he's taken different groups to. He's brought over 600 people in just over 2 years to the continent of Africa already. And so I was one person who's gone on a trip with him. I went to Tanzania and the trip was amazing. You guys will see that content sometime in the near future. Forgive me, it's not out yet. But yeah, I mean, so he has a name that he has built through bringing all these people to the continent. Leslie has been partnered with him on, you know, offering trips that he does, right? And so that was how I'm sure whoever it is, the scammer that it was, saw the connection between the two, and then decided to create this fake partnership and entity in your name. Yeah, so I just want to give people that context because not everybody might know who Jay Cameron is. So I just want to make sure we now know who you are, Leslie, for those who didn't know. But that's also who Jay Cameron is. So that's what's happening there. Okay, so we've been on for a little over an hour. Lots of interesting comments for sure. I want to ask you this because this is a question that's come up, and this is a question that I have for you. Are you ever going to go back to Ghana? Are you going to move in on the land? Are you going to keep the land? What are your plans with the land and your future in Ghana?
Number one, I will follow through with this registration process.
Okay.
That's one thing I will do. 2, development, hell no. I will not be building anything on nothing. So I had a whole 3-phase project, you know, and beautiful. Maybe one day I'll share it. I already had, everything was already set. I just needed the paperwork to the land so I could start pitching. I partnered with a Ghanaian architect firm, gorgeous renderings, so pretty. But that's enough. So now what I'm going to do, I am going back to Ghana because Yoko wants to meet with me because I haven't met them in person yet. So they said the next time you're here, we want to meet with you because there is one more paperwork I have to get. I have to get from the original owners, because when people start dying, they want to make sure no one comes after me for more money. So they're like, we want you to come meet the family, meet the owners to get this paperwork. Because like they said, they're going to walk with me every step of the way. And they're like, you need to get this and you need to come back to Ghana. So I will be going back to Ghana. It won't be real time. I will no longer share with people where I am at what time and when. But just know that, just know I do have to go back to complete, registration. And did I answer everything? Oh, so the plan is
Okay,
The
yeah. So
plan
that
is.
plan, and then there's another question, secondary question.
Oh, okay. Beautiful people. I am from the entertainment industry. And through all this, it has been a lot. So I will be using my land as collateral to fund my documentary film. So it went from a development, right? A real estate development plan to a documentary, right?
Okay.
I started writing it. Chills, bro. Chills. Like I'm getting like just talking about it. I'm just like, it's so good. Now, mind you, Ghana is only like a third of it. It's not gonna be all about Ghana. Ghana is just part of my life, and it's basically a biopic or biopic documentary film, and it's gonna be freaking awesome. So that's the plan that I have with the land now. And then after that, if my documentary flops, well, whoever is my investor, they're gonna get the land and do whatever they want with it. And if it doesn't flop and does good, and I get to keep my land, I will be selling it. So join my newsletter, because my YouTube members, my Patreons, and my newsletter crew, you guys will get the first dibs on when I sell it. There has been a list. There's a couple of people already wanting it, but
Okay.
I'm not anywhere near selling it now because I'm going to use it as collateral. But if my documentary does well, I will be selling my land. So that's the plan.
Got it. Okay. So Lenora says the documentary will be great. Lenora, longtime follower, Sierra Leonean citizen now, and also goes back and forth to Ghana. I met Lenora in both Ghana and Sierra Leone. Shout out to Lenora. She also gave me some really good
We love the consistent people. We love you.
Yes,
we love you guys.
We love that for sure.
You guys keep us going.
Yes, for real. Because y'all don't know how hard this is. You really don't. Okay, so
especially what you do. Oh, you're next level, bro.
It's tough. It's tough. You guys don't want to know how much money I've spent trying to keep all of this together. Okay, so but this is not about me. This is your story. So I do want to ask you this question, because this is a secondary piece to the original question. The original question was what you're going to do with everything. Now, your original decision, China to Ghana, was to move to Ghana.
Right.
So we haven't answered that question. Would you ever move to Ghana? Is that off the table?
Completely off the table. So I went the first time I visited Ghana. So I came to Ghana with like, I'm moving, it's over. Forget America, white folks, all that stuff,
Right.
But my first visit, I was like, and I was just a visitor at that point, and I was just like, I'm a Cali girl. I'm a city girl. I like conveniences. I like paved streets wherever I go. I like Postmates, getting Postmates wherever I go. And I don't want to say it as if that's not there. That is there in Ghana and Accra. But the further you go out, no, like at the beachfront property, there's no way I'm getting any type of Postmates, nothing. But basically, I like convenience. I like regulation and laws to a certain point. I like it. I like America. And I thought I would never say this. I was like, forget the states. Y'all owe us reparations, But at this point, peace is what I value. And I feel more peaceful in the States with my family. And basically, because my family has businesses here, right? Like that's why I was in Colombia. Like that was a fun and business trip at the same time, because my family's thinking about buying land over there. I mean, purchasing property over there. So I'm just like, let me stay with my family. That's where I have a covering. We contributed to Los Angeles. Like my grandma built a part of Los Angeles. He back when land was only $100, right? So this is my place. This is my home, and I'm proud to be a FBA, what's it called? A Foundational Black American, whatever title that is. I like that title.
Yeah, that's
yeah, good. And I'll take it and wear it proudly. If you asked me this years ago, there's no way. But after what I've experienced, I'm like, no, I'm blessed where I am. Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
Adekunle Gold has a good song called Ire. It's like I don't know. Well, anyways, he says, the grass is greener. I thought the grass was greener on the other side, but it's greener where I am. It's greener where I am. I thought where I was going, my story was somewhere else, but no, just look in the mirror. My answer is in the mirror, and so that's where I am. I am the answer. The answer is not relocating. The answer is in the mirror. And I
Okay,
think peace is
okay.
not based on location. Peace is something that you find on your own. And if it causes you to move somewhere else, then that's cool too.
Yes, I agree with that last statement. I mean, for me, I'm finding my way back, but everybody has. But I also have to do some things to be able to get back there. So I'm here for now. I am in the same continent as you. Okay, so we've run the full gambit. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't? I feel like I asked you a lot of questions, but I don't know if there was anything we didn't cover. Did we get everything?
I think we got it all out. Like the number one thing is don't rush, folks. Don't rush and just approach it with a sober mind. Calm down, be emotionally balanced. I know we are excited going back to Africa, Pan-Africanism, our people, our culture is great, but let's not let that cloud our reasoning. And then you end up losing hundreds and thousands of dollars or years because just that slight instability, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fair. Great advice. I just want to add to folks why okay, so I want to add to folks why we took this approach to this particular live, right? The titling and everything, because it always
I know because the title stressed me out. I'm stressed.
Well, look how many people are on the live and just learn some things, right? Like I think it's really important. So look, I want to address that because I think that this comes up a lot. I do not live in the world of salacious things, even though my titles can seem a little bit whatever. It's to draw people in and to have a conversation, a real conversation. For me, I plan to buy more land, to build, develop, and to live on the continent, right? But also Leslie's story is an important story to tell. I've been saying this since I started this channel. I came to Africa with rose-colored glasses, even though I had been going to Sierra Leone. I'd gone to Sierra Leone 5 times or 6 times before I moved to Ghana, and I had been to Ghana once. And because I had been talking to folks who were under different financial circumstances than I was, who had different relationships on the continent than I had, I presumed my experience would be the same as theirs without really thinking things through. Because like you said, there's this level of exuberance, excitement, the connection to the continent. And especially for me, with both my parents being born there, for me, it even felt more like there was a connection. Like I just moved, so there was so many levels of excitement and so many things that were happening all at once. And I got so excited, made the move and didn't really think things through. And so I can really appreciate the fact that you're in your story, you're just explaining your story. And there are many people on here who don't like to hear your story. There are many people here who are learning from your story.
I'm here for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, and the idea is that if 1 or 2 people can learn from this, that is the purpose of bringing you on and having you tell your story. It's not to bash Ghana, because quite frankly, it may not have even been Ghanaians doing some of the things we're talking about. There are other people who move to the country and do a lot of wild stuff in Ghana, right? So
Black Americans encountered them too. Oh my. Yes,
there are Black American scammers living in Ghana. There are, I'm not gonna name any other countries and piss anybody else off, but there are other countries who migrate to Ghana and propagate scams. And so I just thought it was important though that we told your story to this audience so people got a chance to hear, and also some of the things that you learned along the way and the solutions that you're offering for some folks, right? The emotional intelligence, right? And also doing the due diligence. I think those 2 pieces are super important. And I'm glad you wrote those ebooks because I think that they really do help to get people in the right frame of mind before they make a life-changing decision. This is a life-changing decision. It's a financially life-changing decision. And also it is a life-changing decision in the sense that you are now deciding to create an investment in a place that's either far away from you or somewhere that's far away from what you're used to. And I'm speaking to the 70% or so of you who live in the diaspora, who follow these channels and who watch this content, right? 70+%. So I just thought it was really important to tell your story and for everyone to hear it. So for those of you who feel like I'm doing this because I want a lot of, do you know how many views I'm going to get from this? This is for education purposes. I'm not going to get 100,000 views. You guys, how much money do you think I'm making from this? This is for education purposes. It really is to help people. it's funny when people say that, right? I have to address those comments, right? When people see this live and they say, "Oh, he's doing this for money. He's trying to go viral." I'm not trying to go viral.
It's not even the money we get, unless you're at Watermaya level. You ain't making no money.
You're not making any money. Trust me. So trust me on that. All right.
I second that.
So, I mean, but it is important to get this information out there because, look, my goal is still to get people to invest, move, or at least travel to the continent of Africa. But I don't want to do it under false pretenses. I want to make sure that people have different viewpoints and different opinions and understanding how different people see the continent, different people's experiences, so that they make a well-informed decision, right? I always say I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what this platform is about. And so I appreciate you, Leslie, for giving us your time. Me. Of course. More people have tuned in though for this one than in quite some time. I think people really wanted to hear your story, and you've helped some people. I've seen, Lenora and a few other folks have really have appreciated it. Cash is saying she appreciates it too, but she also thinks I should get a moderator. Well, if the lives get this aggressive, yeah, of course I need a moderator. This is one that's been the most aggressive of the lives. There's a lot of communication and conversation here. I'm trying my best though to address the different comments and questions that come up. But Cash also says she appreciates both of us. She's a Ghanaian American, and things like this happen everywhere. But this information has been helpful. So okay. So again, thanks again. Thank you all for watching. If you guys are not aware, Leslie does have, as she mentioned, a Patreon, a YouTube channel. She has a newsletter, and she has a couple of ebooks that you can follow. Her YouTube channel is not only about what's happening in Ghana.
Yeah.
2 YouTube channels?
No, 2 more ebooks are coming out. And my kente cloth I bought, that will become a home decor line. So that's coming soon. Okay,
nice. And also, I was going to say your YouTube channel is not just about your experiences in Ghana. You do also do like related stuff and stuff like that too. So you can talk about that too.
So now that, beautiful people, my Ghana chapter is coming to a close. I'm very excited about it. So what I've noticed, especially on Instagram, people want to know about my hair. Like I'm hitting 10K views easy. I'm like, what? And so you'll start seeing more, on Instagram, hair and traveling. So I've been traveling a lot, especially within the States. I just came back from Colombia. I'll be going to Tanzania next month. And that's going to be great. I did a lot of like Las Vegas a couple of times, Carlsbad. So basically I'm heading into like the hair content creation and the travel real estate. For some reason, the real estate won't let me go, right? Okay. It just won't let me, because now like the Small But Mighty crew, they see my videos. For example, my cousin just developed, he built a villa in the Dominican Republic. And one of the Small But Mighty crew members reached out to me. He's like, can you connect me with the architect? And I was like, sure. I made an affiliation agreement with the architect in Dominican Republic. So if you're considering going there, you already have a connection, right? Colombia, can't confirm anything yet, but things are being worked on there. So you might have a connection in Colombia soon. So that's kind of where my content creation is going, hair and travel real estate. So yeah. Yep.
There it is. Well, thanks again for your time. Thank you guys for watching. Yes. I am going to be going live tomorrow with African Stream to talk about everything that's happening on the continent of Africa as a whole. I'll be going live next Sunday with Sierra Leoneans Killing It to talk about some things going on in Sierra Leone, as I always do. So for any of you guys who are interested in any of that, stay tuned. There are many more lives to come. And with that, thanks for watching. I'll leave you with the video. And so for those of you who didn't get a chance to watch it yet, I'm going to leave you guys with that video because I thought it was interesting. And we will call it a close. We'll bring this thing to a close.
Thank you, Authentic African. I appreciate you.
Of course, the platform appreciates you as well.
Hello, beautiful people. I am Leslie Jones here with
Jay Cameron. That's right.
Yep. Folks, we have bad news. We have people impersonating us, using our images, creating emails to sell land in Ghana. And we want to let you know, for me personally, I am no longer affiliated with anyone selling land in Ghana, and I have no recommendations for you. Now, Jay, on the other hand,
Well, I have no recommendations either, and I'm not selling any land. Now, what I will be doing is a different type of real estate venture, but it's not involving land. So if anything that you see with my name, purchase land quickly, hurry up, it's a fraud, it's a scam. They're leading you astray. They're going to run you amok. All those kind of things. They're going to get your money. They're going to bleed your bank account. All that.
don't fall for the okie doke, folks. The emails that are fake are in the description box.